Cavalry! 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 Cavalry!
Welcome back to the Foot Soldiers podcast. My name is Luke. I'm joined once again today by Conrad. We're recording this the day after Cavalry beat Valour away from home by a score of 2-1 in what was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen this team won. Goals coming from Callum Montgomery just after halftime, and Sergio Camargo in the death of the game in injury time scored the winner for the Cavs to take home all 3 points. And I have some thoughts on this game that I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit, but what do you think, Conrad?
You know, for a game where Eggs Montgomery scored, and you're the number one Monty fan that I know, like, I'm shocked you're as negative about this as you are, but let's be honest, with Valour where they are in the table and where Cavalry wants to be in the table, this game was a stinker.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic goal from Eggsy there. That was a very Dan Klomp-esque goal, I would say. Just a fantastic cross-in from Erda, well-flicked-on header. But that was, unfortunately, one of the only bright spots of this game, I would say. For the first 20 minutes, it felt like it could be a rout in favor of Valour. I think they gave up like 2 chances within the first 5 minutes alone that Marco had to save. And outside of that, it just was not great defending. The goal that they conceded was kind of it will end up on highlight reels, and rightly so, but I think it was mainly just a cacophony of errors from our entire back line, including a bad moment from Callum Montgomery. And even outside of that, I think the effort levels were just not there. It seemed, for the most part of the game, that Valour just wanted it more than we did.
Yeah, so let's go back to that goal that was scored by Valour, and it was the substitute Figueroa. I don't know how we're supposed to say it. Bruno Figueroa. But yeah, like, center backs not stepping up, not challenging the ball, waiting for him to come into the box, and by the time they do eventually step up, the ball's already in the back of the netting. Like, we've seen this a couple times with this Cavalry backline, just way too passive ever since Dan Klomp has left. And I don't know if that's a coaching strategy or if that's just a young man in Levi Lang not having the confidence to step up. Levi Lang was off the pitch by this point, so it would have been Kobza and Monty. So I guess there is no real measured understanding of why that goal was as easy as it was.
Yeah, he sent both Dan Klomp and Montgomery were on the floor by the time that goal went in.
You mean Kobza?
Oh yeah, Kobza. You're right.
Have Dan Klomp anymore.
I wish. Kobza and Montgomery were both on the floor when that goal went in, and then Marco. I don't necessarily think it was his fault, but like it looked really bad on him the way that goal got conceded. And yeah, that was just kind of the worst moment of the game. But again, they were. Like, you can't say Valour didn't deserve that goal. They had been attacking for a lot of the game. They had been creating chances, especially early on. They had a few spells in the game where it felt like they had to score, and they eventually did get their goal in the 82nd minute it was. And you touched on Dan Klomp. I just want to talk about that a little bit, because obviously we're missing him from the standpoint of a defender. Of course, I am a big Montgomery fan, but he's not quite, obviously, to that same level. But I think it became evident yesterday that we're also missing him as a leader, because something I noticed quite often during the game was certain players perhaps not having the effort levels to force the issue on Valour that you might want. And I think we're missing someone like Dan Klomp, who last year would have taken on that leadership role and led by example, but also led by telling players that they have to do better. And I think Charlie Trafford would have done the same if he was playing.
Yeah, when you lose 2 leaders in those guys, it really is starting to show. Monty is not getting it done. I think the only guys who really, other than Monty, are holding people's feet to the fire are Sergio and Fraser. And like, obviously Fraser gets the team of the week nod. Shout out to Fraser Aird. But at the end of the day, it's the message isn't being received or being heard in the way that it needs to be. So whether that needs to be something that's addressed via coaching or just a kind of a I come to Jesus moment, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I was talking about this at the ship yesterday with quite a few people. I think you could certainly make the argument that we have not had a proper captain since Nick retired. But even barring that, like, we've had guys who have stepped up into that leadership role, like Dan Klomp and Charlie Trafford, as I mentioned. But also, I think guys like Shamit Shom and Bradley Camden, who of course didn't play yesterday, I think even if they played, that would have made quite a big difference. I think just looking at the lineup top to bottom yesterday, there wasn't anyone who stepped up into that leadership void that kind of existed. Is that fair to say?
Agree with that. because up until the 50th minute, I would say Cavs standout player was a guy who's 22 in the name of Max Peepgrass.
Yeah, I mean, he was my man of the match for the whole game. I think he was. I mean, your shout last week that he was their best midfielder is now looking more and more true. Like he worked his ass off the whole game. He seemed to be everywhere. The other guy I think was one of our better players. Was Mikhail Gerasimenkov, the other young guy in the lineup. I felt like a lot of the veterans,
especially when we pushed him up the pitch.
Yeah,
I think I understand why he's playing left back in the amount of minutes that he is, but he looks so much better as a left winger.
I 110% agree with you. I would not only want him as a left winger because I think he's better there, but it also gets Nicholas Volling off the pitch. And he wasn't even necessarily the problem yesterday. I think there were 5 players worse than him, but he's also not doing anything, bringing anything positive to the team right now either.
Well, and we might have his replacement already because obviously, as Cavalry fans know, Gauthier Ntingue is back with Cavalry on a multi-year deal.
Yes, so one of the main talking points of the last podcast was who we're going to sign to fix the attack, and in between us recording it and us releasing it, we signed Gauthier Ntingue. So that was that problem solved pretty much immediately. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Who we both also got to run into at the Okotoks Dogs game.
Yes, like, we did.
Just randomly.
Yeah. It kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't really see that one coming. Like, it makes a lot of sense. He wasn't really playing in France, and of course he had that great year with us back in 2023. It does create a little bit of a logjam in the forward role, and you'd have to think, if anything, Volling would be the odd man out right now. But just having someone new in the attack, I think, is going to be something good to see, hopefully, against New York. I don't know if he'll be starting right away, because he hasn't obviously been playing a lot. He's not going to be as sharp as you might like, but I so hopefully hope we get some significant minutes out of him.
But we also saw Kenija Elba not even on the team sheet last week, so you have to wonder if he's also picked up a knock. I haven't heard anything, have you?
No, I haven't heard anything on that either, but if he's not even on the bench, there would have to be something up with that. Because just looking at the bench yesterday, Diego Gutierrez, Tom Field, Mile Laurie, Nico Moroniuk, Owen Antoniuk, Jay Herdman, and of course Joe Holiday. That's not a ton of, like, the injury crisis, I think, is also beginning to reveal itself perhaps a bit more than it was before. Like, there's not a lot of depth in the team beyond the starters. And you can cry all you want, and I certainly was yesterday, that we had to make subs, but like, looking at who's available, I don't think any of those guys, except for maybe Gutierrez, are going to raise the level of the team compared to what you had on there already.
I think Owen Antoniuk has a better shake than a lot of people give him credit for. Obviously, people look at his stature as being not a true number 9 when you're under 6 feet tall. But I'd like to see a little bit more of what Owen can do. Obviously, we saw last year Chinen Chanda get a few of those garbage time minutes, but I think maybe it's time to see what Owen can do. Because you talked about the 5 people that were worse than Nicholas Volling, and I think you almost have to put Toby Warshevsky in that bottom 5 players on the squad last night.
He was the worst of them all, in my opinion, actually.
I don't think I'd go that far.
Well, okay.
But
do we want to go through bottom 5 players of the game yesterday, or
not? I don't think the fans really want to hear that.
Yeah, that's fair. I do, maybe not bottom, but I certainly think I don't know what's going on with him. It's been a pretty rough few weeks from Toby. He's obviously not scoring, but even yesterday, I think like his lack of positional discipline is really starting to also rear itself as a serious issue. Like, there was a point when Toby was taking a throw-in on the right side. It's like, what the fuck are you doing there, man? You have Fraser Aaron and Ali Musi, and Toby's taking the throw-in, and there was no one in the box. This has happened continuously for the whole time it's been here, but now that he's not even scoring, that's starting to, I think, become clear as a real issue in this team.
I don't think Toby Warshevsky should be a 90-minute player in the Canadian Premier League, and I think he's forced to by the lack of depth in that center forward position. Like, if we look at last year, say what you will about Malcolm Shaw and Lowell Wright, at least they were able to give him some minutes off. Give him that 20 minutes where he wasn't running around on the pitch every day.
Yeah,
we had that substitution plan, and we don't this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, for all the shit talking I did last year of Malcolm Shaw and Lowell Wright, like, I was saying this again yesterday, like, I think we are missing another striker right now. And honestly, right now, I think striker has to be the number one priority to try and get in the transfer window, because not only would it give Toby more of a rest and give him some time to hopefully figure it out, but also just like I still think the team would be best if we had two strikers, to allow Toby to be kind of that free forward and do whatever he wants, but still have someone in the box.
Hey, Meyer, you've now represented Auckland City in the Club World Cup. You want to come back, brother?
Yeah, he'll leave again in another year, back to a fifth spell at Auckland, but
yeah. But yeah, I certainly agree. Like, and you bring in these guys, you sign Jay Herdman to a permanent contract. Nicholas Walling is still with the club. And as we said, there was all the hype with Kanija Elva, but anybody who's followed his career knows that the skills were there. The health has not been, and we're not seeing him on the team sheet. So we have to think it might be a second injury on the season.
Yeah, that's certainly a concern right now, because he's, I mean, apart from Owen Antoniak, the only one who can really play striker outside of Toby. I'm just looking back at my notes.
Well, Channon Chanda as well, because he's still on the roster technically.
Oh, but he's not even been on the bench at all either. So.
Well, because he picked up an injury in League One play.
Oh, lovely.
And I've heard he's close to 100%.
Okay.
But can't confirm that.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at my notes here from the game yesterday. Like I noticed at varying points, like Volin, Camargo, and Musi all ended up being the de facto striker just because Toby was, nowhere to be seen in the 18-yard box. And I was just thinking ahead to the next game, if you want to give Toby a rest or even just not start him for one reason or another, I think we could do a lot worse than trying out a Sergio Camargo false nine. Is that crazy?
When you heard Jenkins say, "Oh, Toby's an artist," I'm like, okay, we have three other artists on the pitch, and Gareth Amenkov and Ali Musi on the other side. I love you. I love Toby Warshevsky as a human being. I want to play COD with him. But that's not what we need. We need a true up the middle number 9. And because we're playing so much on the periphery and on the wings over the last 2 weeks, like, you can't afford to be an artist. You need to be a head down, old school striker and be Grady in the box. Go and win balls if that's the style we're going to play.
No, I agree with you there. Another interesting point that we could discuss here, how much of that do you think is the tactical setup, and how much of that do you think is just that's the player Toby is? Because I'm firmly of the opinion that, like, Tommy can say whatever he wants. Toby's going to just play that way.
You're probably a little bit more correct than I am. But at the end of the day, if your coach tells you, I need you to be a number 9 and be greedy and go win the ball and go score some goals, I think you need to listen to that.
Yeah, I do agree. But of course, obviously, I'm not in the dressing room. I don't know what conversations are happening. But yeah, so...
And Tommy Wilden and Nick Ledgerwood combined probably have forgotten more about football than either of us know.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But yeah, so Toby, like, he's making chances. Like, he's still clearly a very talented player, but he's making them for absolutely no one. And you're right, we need to have that, like, old school number 9 to just sit in the box. But even outside of Toby...
What?
Yeah, what?
I'm just looking at the roster. Another guy I think could be a straightforward win the ball number 9 for this club is Niko Moroniak. Like, we've always seen him play either in central midfield where he feels completely out of position or on the wings. If we're wanting somebody to just make straight line runs, maybe he's your guy.
I think we could, at this point, I'm willing to try anything. Like, that certainly sounds like it could work. And again, like, looking back at the game yesterday, I think our best players were the young players. I think Max Peepgrass was my man of the match, and I think Gareth Menkov was also one of our best players. So I'm certainly not opposed to trying to give some playing time to some of these young guys who have actually something to prove. Because I think there was more than a little hint of, I don't know if complacency is the right word, but I think the other forwards on this team were a bit too comfortable in the starting roles in the team and perhaps not, like, tracking back and stuff as much as you might like. Like, Camargo, he did score the winner, and you have to appreciate that from him. But, like, there were several points in the game when he was just, like, 15 feet offside and making no effort to even try and get back. And it's the same with Musi. I think it was Ali Musi at his worst. Certainly like his worst qualities as a player seemed to all come out in that game, and there were few and far between redeeming moments in that. So I think a lot of the forward line I think it could do with having something new in there. Just keep the seat hot.
And it allows you to kind of continue to play with your strength, which has been our CDMs this season. And you said something in a chat that we're both in, where I don't think Arab Kogza is a center defensive mid anymore, because he looked kind of exposed out there. So we'll have to see what the club thinks rather than just us. But yeah, I think that experiment didn't go overly well either.
I mean, and it was only like one game, but I do think that he didn't necessarily look much better at center back. Of course, he was partially at fault for the goal we conceded, but I do think we need. I mean, again, that's just the injuries in midfield that kind of forced our hand there. I certainly don't think Kobza was banging on Tommy's door demanding to play DM.
No.
But yeah, just of who was available. But I think if Gutierrez is fully fit, like I wouldn't mind seeing him starting again in the team.
You heard Jenkins say that he's close to 100%, but just not quite there yet. So you have to hope that's the play. And then, or hey, if he's good enough to play 60 minutes, there's another guy that's just getting healthy that I think can eat those other 40 in Michael Baldissimo.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're certainly right. If we can start Gutierrez, get the bulk of the game from him, you're right. Baldissimo is not a bad replacement there either. So, yeah, just looking through some more of the team. I mean, Fraser Aird obviously did have that fantastic assist that got into the team of the week. Three yellow cards in the team. Four yellow cards. Well, 4 yellow cards. Something I didn't even know was a thing that could happen. Max Peepgrass getting a card for God knows why, and then getting it rescinded at the half. Might be one of.
I don't think I've seen that one before either.
Might be one of the funniest things ever. Like I didn't even know that was a thing that could happen in soccer.
Yeah, because I didn't hear. I missed the first couple minutes of the second half, so I didn't hear it was rescinded. So in my mind, I was like, "Oh my God, is he getting sent off here?"
Well, and you just know there's some Valour fan who was crashing out at why isn't he getting sent off here? This is his second yellow. Which is
Luke, let's be real. You would be crashing out if it was the other.
Oh, yeah. The Valour me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apart from that,
well, if there is a Valour you, because there's only about 1,000 Valour fans out there.
Well, it was a good crowd yesterday. I thought in a smoky day.
It was better than usual, but still not where you want it.
Yeah, with the terrible air quality though, you have to give some credit to that. Jay Herman. Jay Herman is looking at this. I think it's fair to say he's fallen pretty far outside of Tommy's circle of trust right now.
Which I don't know how you trust Walling more than you trust Jay Herdman.
I mean,
I put them both on par with each other at the very best.
I mean, I would too, but clearly Tommy doesn't because we started Walling and Herman did not even come off the bench. I really hope we can see Intigne in some big capacity in the York game because he will be eligible for that game, right?
Yes, I do believe because I think the European transfer window opens Saturday.
Okay.
So in theory, Sunday should be fine.
Well, the game's on Saturday.
Oh.
Oh, we'll see on Saturday if he's playing or not.
Yeah, I someone who knows the rules of transfer windows more than I. And we have to remember this is a game with 2 games in 3 days for the Cavs this week.
Really, we play a midweek game.
We play Tuesday, July 29th. Right.
We go
Valour.
Back to Winnipeg. There we go. We have the opportunity to immediately have a better showing. And you know what? At the end of the day, we did say in the last podcast that it was a must-win, and they did do that. They did get the 3 points on the table. Kind of, that's all that matters, really.
Well, and we're talking about the wonder goal from Valour.
Mm-hmm.
Sergio's goal was pretty darn nice too, with no time on the clock for him to have the wherewithal to roll over the top of it and just send the keeper. That's pretty composed for a guy who's been in this league for a long time, and against a keeper that's a mile tall in Viscosi. Yeah,
and I mean, of course, old man Sergio was probably pretty gassed at that point, but still managed to pull that out of his pocket. It's pretty impressive, and that is good to see Kamara grabbing a good game. Because I remember I was talking last week that he should maybe get a week off, but he's clearly proven me wrong there with the goal he scored. Just look at the table here. That win puts us 6 points behind Forge with a game in hand, 7 points behind Ottawa, also with a game in hand. So I don't think we really gained any ground with that win. I think we're just keeping pace right now.
Staying in the peloton, Tony's favorite phrase a few years ago.
Yeah. All you have to do is stay in there then, because this time last year we were out of playoff spot entirely. So
yeah, we were Draw FC last year. And just before we completely look past this game, we have missed an event. The good old bench yeller from Valour.
Yeah, to the backup goalie.
Elias Himras. I remember when we had the game here in Atco against Valour, and it was Himras in net, and I certainly let him know I did not think he was in fact him, Ross. So I love the fact that there's a bench yeller. That's great.
Yeah, that's you do love to see it. I always wonder in these things like what exactly he said that put him over the line, but it's great. So just table watching here, the matches elsewhere in the league. We of course are taking on York United Saturday, 3 p.m. Saturday, back at home. Hopefully we get a good crowd out for that. Back at home against a team who is also in the hunt. They're only 4 points behind us. It's pretty impressive how big of a gap there is this year between 5 and 6. There's 5. Well, there's 2 great teams, 3 good teams, and 3 terrible teams.
Yeah, Pacific, Valour, and Vancouver are they're real bad. I kind of almost feel bad, and it's funny that Pacific FC is the best of the bad teams, considering they're like the lower paid squad between the 2 teams owned by the consortium between Pacific and Vancouver. Yeah. So I think that's quite clever. But you also have to look at goal differential. That'll kind of tell you the tail of the tape as well.
Yeah.
Cavalry having the best goal differential outside the top 2 with 10 goals in the positive. And Halifax only +2 goals, but in 4th place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little weird to me.
Oh,
I guess they've gotten blown out a few times, but...
Yeah, well, the masters of winning games 1-0.
But yeah, and York United, obviously, they pulled off a pretty convincing win last week.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder what kind of form they'll come in with. And I don't know, is the man whose dad is James Bond he did come in as a sub last week, so we might get to see him in his Batman mask.
Oh, isn't he a center back now?
Oh, he's whatever. I think he's a multi-positional player.
Well, got an assist in the last game. That's great.
Yeah. So,
York unbeaten in the league since the last time they played us on June 8th, which is
and Gabby Bitar. Who would have thought that he's one of the better players that escaped FC Edmonton?
Well, that also escaped us twice, but
no comment.
Yeah, no, he's I was a fan of him. I would have liked to see us, try and sign him for a 3rd time, but can't always get what you want. Yeah, so just we play York 3 p.m. at Spruce Meadows. Could be a chance to go start really pressuring the table if we win. Are we going to call this another must-win, or?
I think you need to get points out of it at the very least.
Must get points. Okay, well, actually, yeah, because that would be fine if with like a 2-2 draw where we look good and just concede 2 garbage goals. Like that can happen. Yeah, I want to see.
Coming back from a wedding that day, so I'll take whatever result we get.
Okay.
I will probably be exhausted.
That's fair. I would just like to see a little bit more attacking output than we've seen in recent weeks. We had a stat here. It had been like 350 minutes since the last goal when Montgomery scored against the opener against Valour.
Yeah, I don't love, or since we've scored a goal. Obviously, we had the own goal.
Yeah.
Against Vancouver, but
yikes.
Yeah. That's an ugly stat.
It's not fantastic. It's not really what you want at this point in the season. Yeah, because 0-0 against Vancouver, 1-1 with the own goal, 2-0 loss to Ottawa, then 1-0 to Pacific, in which we scored in the 13th minute. So that's
the other thing I think I'm kind of worried about going into this week is the health of Shamit Show.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of been the heartbeat guy, the king of Bangladesh. And I'm not just talking about our social media engagement that we need him for. Like, he has been so good, especially with the young Max Peepgrass being your starting 2 central defensive midfielders. I don't want to mess with that, and I obviously want Sham back because he's a quality player.
Well, that goes back to kind of what I talked about at the beginning here. I think Shamit is in that leadership circle that I think he would have brought that a level of leadership to the team that we were sorely missing yesterday. Also, just as an aside, did you see in the lineup post all the people in the comments were saying, "Where is Shamit?"
Yeah, I did.
It's great.
Yes,
I love
he
it.
had picked up an injury. Our social media engagement went down from 300 posts to only 30. So
Yeah,
I'm sure the social media team's not happy.
no, we like just got a picture of him like at home. You know, that'll do numbers in Bangladeshi Twitter. But yeah, just the other matchups this week, so I can see.
For us, obviously, we didn't talk much about it, but we do have that return to Valour. You hope that we can score 8.
Yeah.
I want a new 0-8 chant.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
Again. Forge Halifax, that's a pretty big game. In Halifax, that's going to be... You'd hope Halifax could pull something out there.
Man, but Halifax's run of form recently has been terrible.
Yeah. But, you know, they are at home. They do well at home, usually.
If anyone can beat Forge, that's the hope, I guess.
Even a draw, like, just take 2 points off Forge. Because then Halifax draw, we win. We're now, 4 points back, which is still not great. But
this is true.
Vancouver Valour, which no one will be watching that game. And then Pacific Ottawa, you'd hope Pacific could do something, but they're probably not going to. So, yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? That Valour Vancouver game could be like the secret banger of the week.
Because
neither of them can play defense.
Yeah, it could be
and
like
David Norman Jr. will get a red card in that match for sure if he's eligible to play. So
yeah, absolutely.
Secret banger just to watch David Norman crash out.
Yeah, if you want to spend your Friday night watching Vancouver Valour, could be something there. So yeah.
Or you watch it later. You just record it and watch it later when you need entertainment.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, then apart from that, we play again next Wednesday, which I did not realize until we started recording this. So,
yeah, true Cavs fan right there.
And that's our game in hand. So the next time, I guess I don't know when we're going to record this next, but we could potentially be 1 game back of Forge by next Friday.
That's the hope. Hey, like when you're still knocking on the door, considering Forge haven't lost a match all year.
Yeah,
that's a decent place to be.
Well, and all we have to do is get into the playoffs and then hope for the best, because like I do kind of see our Champions League chances kind of slowly drifting away here, but you never know. We'll run a form at the right time. We could all of a sudden be back in it and back to being the best team in the league. So thanks for all the great reception we got in the first episode. I was truly surprised actually by how many people seem to watch it on YouTube and stuff like that. So hopefully the interest continues in this and we can keep doing it. We will talk to you at some point next week.